Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video tutorial, I will explain everything about Kelvin cycle. So Kelvin cycle, it is also known as C3 cycle. Okay. I have a brief introduction about Kelvin cycle. So first of all, Kelvin cycle is also known as carbon fixation cycle. So basically what happens in this cycle is reduction and fixation of carbon dioxide into 3 carbon product, that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Okay, so what happens in this, carbon dioxide is fixed. Okay, so it is usually fixed by photosynthetic plants. It can be either eukaryotes or prokaryotes into a 3 carbon product, that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Okay, just wait a second. Okay, so why Kelvin cycle is known as C3 cycle? So the reason behind is that the first product which is formed in Kelvin cycle is a 3 carbon product, that is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Okay, that is why it is known as C3 cycle. So in eukaryotes, C3 cycle usually occurs in stroma, that which is present in chloroplast, and in prokaryotes it occurs in cytosol. So the next, so this was a brief introduction. Next is Kelvin cycle usually occur in 3 steps. Okay, first step is carboxylation, second is reduction, and third is regeneration. So these are the 3 steps of Kelvin cycle. Now let's study how Kelvin cycle works. Okay, so this is the diagrammatic representation of Kelvin cycle. I've taken this diagram from life sciences book of Pathfinder publications. Okay, so now let's see how it works. So I told you the first step of Kelvin cycle is carboxylation. So what happens in this? 3 molecules of RuBP. RuBP is ribulose 1,5-bis phosphate. Okay, 3 molecules of ribulose 1,5-bis phosphate fix 3 molecules of carbon dioxide to give 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate. Okay, let me repeat again. So in carboxylation का मतलब क्या होता है? Fixation of carbon dioxide. So in this what happens? 3 molecules of RuBP, that is ribulose 1,5-bis phosphate, fix 3 molecules of carbon dioxide to give 6 molecules. This is 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट स्टेप कार्बोक्सिलेशन में हमें 6 मॉलिक्यूल मिलेंगे किसके? 3-phosphoglycerate के. फाइन. नेक्स्ट स्टेप ऑफ केल्विन साइकिल हमारा क्या होता है? रिडक्शन. सो रिडक्शन में क्या होता है? 6 मॉलिक्यूल्स ऑफ 3-phosphoglycerate. Okay, 3-phosphoglycerate converts into 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate. ठीक है, 3-phosphoglycerate converts into 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate with the utilization of 6 molecules of ATP. Okay, ये साइकिल आपको बहुत अच्छे से याद रखनी है. Okay, whatever questions which are being asked from Kelvin cycle are directly related to this diagram only. Okay, so what happens? 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate converts into 6 molecules of 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate by utilizing 6 molecules of ATP. ठीक है, what will happen? 6 molecules ATP utilize होगा और convert हो जाएगा 6 ADP में. Okay, next step is 6 molecules of 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate converts into 6 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate by utilizing 6 NADPH. तो 6 NADPH यहाँ यूज हो रहा है और 6 ATP यहाँ यूज हो रहा है. ओके, तो what will be the final product of reduction? फाइनल प्रोडक्ट हमें 6 मॉलिक्यूल्स मिलने वाले, 6 मॉलिक्यूल्स मिलने वाले हैं ग्लिसरल्डिहाइड 3 फॉस्फेट के. नाउ वन थिंग टू नोट हियर इज दैट आफ्टर the completion of reduction step of Kelvin cycle, 1 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate will leave the Kelvin cycle. Okay, one molecule will leave the cycle and that molecule will be utilized for the production of glucose molecule. Okay, so after reduction, only 5-glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will be left. Why? Because one molecule have already left the cycle. So now what will happen? The last step of Kelvin cycle is regeneration. Okay, so we have seen carboxylation, we have seen reduction. Now the last step of Kelvin cycle is regeneration. Now in this step what happens? 5 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will regenerate का मतलब क्या होता है? वापस से बना देना, वापस से किसी चीज को बना देना is known as regeneration. Okay, so here 5 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will regenerate 3 molecules of RuBP by utilizing 3 molecules of ATP. तो ये 3 ATP यहाँ utilize होंगे 5 glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate को 3 RuBP में convert करने के लिए. ठीक है? So and this is how the whole cycle goes on. So let us calculate in this whole cycle how many ATPs are being utilized. 6 ATPs are utilized here and 3 ATPs are utilized here. So total how many ATP is utilized in this cycle? That is 9 ATPs are being utilized. Now how many NADPH are being utilized? So as we have seen, NADPH is utilized only in this step. So only 6 NADPH is being utilized in this cycle. Okay, here you can see the overall net reaction of Kelvin cycle. So this was all about Kelvin cycle. Now let us see all the steps of Kelvin cycle. Okay, so the first step of Kelvin cycle is carboxylation. So as I've already discussed, in this step 3 molecules of ribulose bisphosphate fix 3 molecules of carbon dioxide in the presence of a very important enzyme, that is Rubisco. You have to remember this enzyme. इस enzyme के बिना carboxylation step नहीं हो सकता है, because this is a pacemaker of Kelvin cycle, which is very important for regulating this cycle. Okay, so in the presence of Rubisco enzyme, 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate is formed. Okay. We are going to see briefly about Rubisco enzyme. As I have already told you, it is a pacemaker enzyme of Kelvin cycle. Okay, it is mainly responsible for regulating C3 cycle. Next point is Rubisco is the most abundant protein in chloroplast. पूरे plant kingdom में Rubisco is the most abundant, बहुत ज़्यादा, सबसे ज़्यादा पाए जाने वाला एंजाइम या प्रोटीन जो होता है वो Rubisco ही होता है पूरे प्लांट किंगडम में. एंड ऑल्सो इट इज़ द मोस्ट अबंडेंट प्रोटीन ऑन अर्थ. ओके, पूरे अर्थ पे सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोटीन जो मिलता है वो Rubisco ही होता है. ओके, नेक्स्ट इज द ऑप्टिमम pH विच इज़ रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द वर्किंग ऑफ Rubisco एंजाइम इज 8. ओके, pH इतने ही pH पे Rubisco हमारा एफिशिएंटली वर्क कर पाता है. नाउ देयर आर सम फैक्टर्स which affects the working of Rubisco enzyme. So the first is oxygen, carbon dioxide, magnesium and pH. So the activity of Rubisco is regulated by oxygen, carbon dioxide, magnesium and pH. Okay, so this was all about Rubisco enzyme. Step 2, that is 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. This step is catalyzed by G3P dehydrogenase, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. Okay, so try to remember these enzymes also, which are required for the regulation for catalyzing the reductions. 5 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate converts into 3 molecules of RuBP. Okay, by utilizing 3 molecules of ATP. So यहाँ पे 3 ATP use होगा. And I've already discussed it that out of 6 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, 1 molecule of G3P leaves the Kelvin cycle and is used for synthesizing glucose molecule, and rest 5 G3P molecules are used for regenerating ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. Okay, so this was all about the steps of Kelvin cycle. the last and the very important part of Kelvin cycle is energy expenditure for synthesizing one molecule of glucose. Kelvin cycle का main objective क्या था? To synthesize glucose molecule. Okay. So I've already told you that one molecule of G3P, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which left the Kelvin cycle, that molecule is being utilized for the formation of glucose. ठीक है, वो ग्लूकोज मॉलिक्यूल के फॉर्मेशन में ही काम आता है. दैट इज बाय इट लीव्स द केल्विन साइकिल. फाइन. सो नाउ टोटल एक मॉलिक्यूल, total number of Kelvin cycle, ATP and NADPH, which is utilized for synthesizing one molecule of glucose, are mentioned on the screen. So what happens for synthesizing one molecule of glucose? Total number of Kelvin cycles required are 6. ठीक है, तो total 6 rounds of Kelvin cycle are required for synthesizing one molecule of glucose. Fine. Next, now the total ATP which is utilized for synthesizing one molecule of glucose is 18. So एक glucose molecule बनाने के लिए हमें कितने ATPs की requirement होती है? 18 ATPs लगते हैं. एंड टोटल NADPH कितना लगता है? 12 NADPH लगता है. ठीक है. सो दिस टेबल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड many questions are being asked from this part of Kelvin cycle in exams such as IIT-JAM, GAT-B and CSIR and all. So this part is very important. This was all about C3 cycle. Thank you.